Today we're looking at some Purdy brushes and in particular what makes a good quality brush. And right here I've got Jade with me, and Jade, today we're going to look at some brushes and just have a bit of a discussion on what makes a good quality brush.
Perfect.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
You've got a couple of brushes, well, you've got a couple of half brushes in front of you, and what you will notice about them is that they have been cut in half. And from one angle, they do look quite similar. But if we turn them, you can see a big difference between our Purdy brush and our brand X brush.
Yeah.
Yeah? So what do you notice about that straight away?
The difference between the brushes is phenomenal. I mean, the channel on this product X is completely.
Yeah, compared to the Purdy one that's got a very thin wooden wedge in there.
Yeah. And the epoxy resin that is holding the filaments in is a lot bigger on the
Yeah, it's a lot thicker, isn't it? Yeah, really holds those bristles in, and obviously it gives Purdy the no bristle loss guarantee.
100%.
Yeah, very smooth, nice looking brush. So what you will notice with the two brushes, and particularly with the one cut in half, is that the bristles really do, the bristles really do just come out. They're not in there very secure, whereas with the Purdy brush is that you've got this much thicker epoxy resin, which guarantees the bristles actually stay in the brush all the time, and you don't get any bristle loss, unlike the brand X, as you can see here, which is a lot thinner, and these bristles are obviously coming out already. The other unique thing to Purdy is the self-flagging filaments, and basically that means just like a woman's hair or men's hair as well, the ends are split, and even if you use a brush over time and start wearing it down, the bristles will continue to split.
They will. And I do have proof of that. My boss actually has had his brush for, I think, approaching 6 years now. And from the day he got it, his bristles obviously were split. And he's now at this part of his brush, and it still holds just as much paint as what it first did. And also, you haven't mentioned it, with the handle being older wood, his actual technique of holding the brush, when I would hold his specific brush, I could feel the moulding of his hand from time with obviously the older wood soaking and absorbing the sweat from his hand. It moulded to this shape, which makes it more comfortable.
So, definitely. So a very long-lasting brush which moulds to your hands, absolutely. So another thing that we can look at with these two brushes, actually, if we look at brand X brush, you can see here you've got these two wedges inside the brush, whereas with the Purdy brush you've got a smaller wooden wedge. Now, not quite sure what's put in here. It's usually cardboard or a bit of plastic, but the channel in brand X brush is just going to completely fill up with paint, and then when you try and lay it off or brush with it, it's just going to all come out in one go. Whereas with the Purdy brush, as you can see, the wooden wedge there is a lot thinner, which allows the paint to just flow more gradually off the brush after it's been loaded up.
Can I ask, does that control the paint? Obviously, when you use a not so good brush, it just absolutely falls out of the brush. Do the Purdy brushes, just as you're laying off or as you're applying the paint, does it control the paint flow?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you've loaded the brush up with the paint and then you're laying it off, it just gradually and slowly comes out to give you a nice, even, smooth finish.
And is that because of this wooden plug?
Yeah, compared to this rather large channel in brand X.
Of something that we don't know what is in there. Okay, thank you.
So Jade, in your day-to-day decorating then, what have you found with brushes that you use in terms of using perhaps more expensive brushes compared to cheaper brushes?
Especially expensive brushes, more expensive brushes, I find they produce a better quality. I tend to find the more expensive brushes, i.e. Purdy, have a lovely, nicer finish.
Yeah.
You know, reduced brush marks, because obviously they have better filament. And I don't know, the paint, the flow control. You know, you're not over painting. You're not putting too much paint on the surface. It lays it off lovely and smooth, and that's obviously all due to the great quality of the brush.
Yeah. I mean, I've had no issues with my Purdy brushes whatsoever, and you know, I do have one or two cheaper brushes, and it is a little bit disappointing when you're doing something, you're getting that perfect finish, and the paint just, or you got a lovely finish, and then you end up with bristles in the paint, and you've got to get it out and then lay it off, and the paint dries. It's a bit of a pain, isn't it?
It's a process. It's
Yeah,
a process.
it definitely is. So really, you know, we're looking at a more expensive brush here, but in the long run, it's going to be cheaper, isn't it?
It is.
Because with brand X, you're going to be buying one of those, I don't know what, every 6 months, a year, depending on how much you use it. Whereas a Purdy brush is going to last you a long time, isn't it? Just like your boss.
Just like my boss.
So your Purdy brushes might be more expensive, but in the long run, it will be the cheapest brush you'll ever buy.